Hey everyone, welcome back to the Movie Vault. My name is Rob. It's good to see you guys back here on the channel. Today's video we are reviewing the Blu-ray release of the Shudder series Cursed Films. Really cool stuff. So let's get into this. Some technical info about this one. So I imported this one from Amazon in the States. So just mention that off the bat. It of course is streaming on the online service Shudder. So I do recommend if you want to pick this up, you might want to check it out beforehand streaming. There's probably like a free trial you can get to give it a watch before you buy it and keep it on physical media. But yeah, this was released by Shudder 2020. It's a this year release, 141 minutes. There's 5 episodes in that total runtime. It's a 2.39 to 1 aspect ratio, so you'll get the black bars top and bottom of your screen. It comes with a nice DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 audio mix, and as I mentioned, this is a Region A Blu-ray release, so you will need a multi-region player if you're outside of the US. So basically, yeah, 5 episodes, 5 cursed films. The myths and legends behind Poltergeist, The Omen, The Exorcist, The Crow and Twilight Zone the movie. So let me just kind of quickly talk about artwork on this one. Looks really cool. They have the reel of film there. As a projectionist, it drives me mad that they don't get the perforation holes. They're called, it's 4 per frame, and they never get that right on artwork. Anyways, the back you have just some pictures there, the crow and a couple of stills from the episodes. Disc is just the same as the cover art there. That's the Blu-ray disc. So yeah, nice artwork on this one. So let's just kind of go through these episode by episode. Poltergeist is the first one up, 26 minutes long. I always just kind of find revisiting Poltergeist, any of the movies, the 3 movies, are just kind of sad because of all the, you know, the deaths involved, which is part of the course. So let me kind of talk about who is involved in this episode. So just people of note to me, or people who were involved within the movie itself. So Ryan Turek is in there. You might know him. He's he works for Blumhouse. He's a executive EVP or something of production, and he's produced a lot of the, you know, Halloween 2018 and stuff like that, and he has a podcast and stuff as well. Craig Reardon, the special effects for Poltergeist, the first Poltergeist movie. Gary Sherman directed Poltergeist 3, and Sean Clark is in there as well, who you may know from Horror's Hallowed Grounds. He does that show and he has his YouTube channel and all that stuff. They were the only people of note to me in this episode. But just a couple of the kind of the, you know, the courses, just some quick things here. The boy strangled by the clown doll was like a failed mechanical sort of thing that happened. Real skeletons were used in the swimming pool scene. Heather O'Rourke, of course, passed away during the making of Poltergeist 3. Dominique Dunne was murdered right after Poltergeist 1 was either finished or came out. Then Will Sampson performed an exorcism on the set of Poltergeist 2 apparently, and then he dies quite young. Julian Beck dies. Of course, he was in Poltergeist 2, and apparently his death mask was used on another actor to portray his character in Poltergeist 3. Props locations are discussed as well. That's where Sean Clark comes in this episode. Gary Sherman, the director of Poltergeist 3, talks about his relationship with Heather O'Rourke, and you know, basically talk about her death and finishing the movie. They didn't want to do it, Poltergeist 3, all that sort of stuff. And then, as I mentioned, Craig Reardon, the special effects guy from the first Poltergeist movie, kind of comes on and doesn't maybe dispel the myth of the real skeletons were used, but he basically just kind of, you know, explains that real skeletons were used in movies for years and they weren't props, and that's kind of how it was done. And just kind of, you know, dismisses that this real skeletons being used didn't equal a curse on the movie. And that's kind of that's the first episode of Poltergeist. As I said, just kind of sad to kind of watch anything to do with Poltergeist, for me anyway, just with all that went on. So the second episode is The Omen. So this again runs 26 minutes long. People of note to do with The Omen here. So Richard Donner's in here, of course, the director of The Omen. You have Mace Neufeld, who was the executive producer on The Omen, and then the rest of the people involved in this are, and in the entire series, are kind of like podcasters, journalists, film critics. Not being rude, but I don't know who they are. I've never heard of them. And they talk to a lot of religious people in this, you know, like witches and kind of people into like that kind of thing. So a couple of the courses involved in The Omen, the devil is trying to stop the movie getting made because he doesn't want to be revealed. Gregory Peck's plane gets struck by lightning. Then the writer of the movie, on a separate flight, his plane gets struck by lightning as well. a flight Gregory Peck was supposed to be on. The plane crashes and everybody's killed on the plane. And there's an IRA bomb in London at the time where the cast or something of the crew were supposed to meet to kind of talk about doing the movie. In the safari park in the movie, the car stalls and the baboons attack the car. That's all kind of real footage that sort of happened. The handler in the safari park is killed by a lion or a tiger shortly after filming finishes in the park. Special effects supervisor has a car crash and his fiance is decapitated, like in the movie The Omen, at a sign that apparently says Omen, O-M-M-E-N, 66.6 kilometers, 66.6 miles. So take that for what you will. The production office and the cast and crew being threatened to stop making the movie. But basically, they kind of go on in this episode for The Omen to kind of explain that everything was kind of more of a blessing, that it just drummed up publicity for the movie. And yeah, they dispel any of the curses as sort of being a blessing for The Omen. So the third episode on this Blu-ray is The Exorcist. 28 minutes long. This one goes a little bit longer. The only people involved in the movie that's on this, Linda Blair is on there, which is nice to see, and Eileen Dietz, who was kind of a double for Linda Blair during some of the scenes filming. So some of the curses or the rumors on this one, the sets go on fire. Everything is burned except Reagan's bedroom set somehow is saved. The set is blessed by a priest after that, which is kind of strange. Linda Blair's grandfather dies during filming or before filming. Two people die belonging to the movie. Max von Sydow's brother dies on the first day of production of the movie. Special effects guy dies, the guy that was to chill the room so you can see their breath during the exorcism. He passes away. Linda Blair, of course, kind of famously injures her back during the scenes where she's kind of flying up and down on the bed. William Friedkin fires a gun to get a reaction out of people on set. Another crazy thing. Ellen Burstyn is hurt where she gets thrown back, and that's, all these takes are in the movie. There is a murderer in the movie in the hospital scene. The guy who was kind of helping the procedure, he murdered somebody. The trailer was rumored to induce seizures on people if you projected the movie as a projectionist. Everything was cursed. The cinema was cursed. Customers passing out coming out of the movie with the shock. Just basically the rest of the episode again here involves a lot of a guy who is an exorcist now, and him going to people's houses and doing exorcisms. And the rest of the episode is just kind of the aftermath for Linda Blair, what she will and she won't talk about. And kind of she sort of says it's all a PR myth at the end of the day. So again, a lot of stuff dispelled or not dismissed, but kind of explained in the episode of The Exorcist. So we move on to episode 4, The Crow. This was the episode I was most looking forward to. As you guys know, it's my favourite film, and I was looking forward to this. So this one was 27 minutes long. Nice length on that one. So people of note again in this episode is Ryan Turek's in there again, Jeff Mose, a producer on The Crow, and Bridget Boyes, who wrote a book, The Story Behind the Crow, I believe it's called. I have it here. I've shown it in my Crow collection video. Lance Anderson, the special effects makeup artist who worked with Brandon Lee on the movie, is in there as well. And Michael Berryman, who played the Skull Cowboy, whose character was cut from the movie then. So, basically some of the courses on this, you guys are probably going to know most of these, but two electricians on the first night of shooting, they were in a cherry picker and the truck backs into an electric wire and they catch on fire, and, they don't die, but they're kind of badly injured. The storm of the century hits where they were shooting, Wilmington, North Carolina. Most of the backlot sets are destroyed. We kind of talk then about, in the episode, they talk about the Skull Cowboy and all the kind of prosthetics and stuff Michael Berryman was going to go through. They talk about the curse of the Lee family, Bruce Lee, the conspiracies, all that sort of stuff there. Then they kind of discuss in detail Brandon's death on set. There is a weapons expert here, which I found really interesting watching this episode, because when you read a lot of this stuff about a blank was fired out of a gun 2 weeks before and then they put a dummy in and the dummy shoots the lodged blank out and the hung round and all this stuff, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but this weapons guy explains it and he shows a demonstration really well in this episode. I found that really interesting. They basically talk then about they can't finish the film and they go on to finish the film. The stunt double is used, who we all know, Chad Stahelski, who went on to be Keanu Reeves' stunt double and directed the John Wick movies. He had trained with Brandon Lee, so he comes in to kind of be the double for a lot of stuff to finish the movie. And what I didn't actually know, another new thing out of this episode is they get Lance Anderson, the makeup artist, to make like a Brandon Lee mask, which they put on the stunt doubles, and they just said it was weird, and they never used any of the footage of that just because it looked too weird. It was too strange. Of course, the changes to the script to finish the movie. Michael Berryman comes in here with some accusations against the production company. I'm not going to go into that here. Like, you know, you'll be able to see that, and they kind of finish off with some influences, how The Crow influenced other movies, The Matrix, and all that sort of stuff moving forward. And yeah, really interesting episode, this one, The Crow. So we finish up with the final episode, the fifth one here, Twilight Zone, the movie. I will admit, watching this one, this was like the saddest, like most heartbreaking one of all these episodes watching, really. I kind of knew of the course, or like the accident that happened. So if you're not aware, like the actor Vic Morrow, who I want to say is Jennifer Jason Leigh's father, I could be mistaken saying that. He dies on set with two young Vietnamese children. They're basically decapitated and chopped up by a helicopter crash that crashes onto them. This one again runs the same, 26-27 minutes long. People of note on this one, Ryan Turek's in there again. Richard Sawyer is the production designer on the Twilight Zone movie. He's in here. Kane Hodder is in here. So you guys know Kane Hodder from the Friday the 13th movies. He played Jason. He's a stuntman. He's in the Hatchet movies and all that sort of stuff. Lloyd Kaufman, director, creator of The Toxic Avenger. He's on here as well. So they kind of talk about 70s director culture, where the director has done what they want and nobody cared. They give some background on the movie, you know, an anthology movie. Steven Spielberg was involved as well. I'm sure you guys know the movie, and the kind of the segments that, you know, include the actor Vic Morrow and what it's all about. So there is a Vietnam segment where he basically saves orphans that sort of redeem his character. That's the sort of plot of what is supposed to go on in the movie. The person who kind of explains all this the most is Richard Sawyer, the production designer. He explains finding the location where they build the set, the Vietnam set, and there's a scene where Vic Morrow sort of comes out of the bushes and the army sees him and they start shooting, and, you know, they just shoot all the plants and stuff and the kind of jungle down, and he finds out they use real bullets that night, which is sort of crazy. He builds the set, and then basically the story, you know, goes they illegally used the two young Vietnamese children, and there's explosions going off as Vic Morrow is running with the kids, and a helicopter comes in. They done a test shoot, and the helicopter pilots apparently reported trouble with the explosions being too close to the helicopter. John Landis, the director of this segment, is reported as, or, you know, is sort of, is supposed to say, like, wait until you see what we do when we're actually shooting, it's going to be way bigger. Something like that, according to people in the documentary. And then, you know, they obviously do the shoot, and it all goes wrong, and, you know, the three of them die, you know, right there in film. They show the clip. It's pretty disturbing to watch. It's not a close-up or anything like that. But they kind of, Lloyd Kaufman comes in and he talks about safety on the set of his movies. Explosive experts kind of give a demo of stuff, and Richard Sawyer kind of talks through the whole thing, and he's just like, he's breaking down, he's almost crying. It's just really terrible, you know, to watch and sort of hear and see what happened. And the kind of the footage of the accident is shown, as I mentioned, and the kind of trial in the aftermath. Everyone was brought to court. They used these kids illegally. How much did John Landis have to do with it? I don't know. I kind of come away from, after watching this, John Landis directed some great films, but I kind of come away from this not overly liking a lot of his stuff after the fact. Bonus content on this, there is director's commentaries on all 5 episodes. So kind of final thoughts and rating, not to kind of end on a downer here for this one, but final thoughts and rating on this one. Course Films, the Shudder original series. The series is more about maybe disarming the Course rumors. It's, you know, none of them were cursed. Everything can kind of be explained basically at the end of it. It's an interesting watch if you're a horror fan. The Omen and The Exorcist were the 2 episodes I was least kind of interested in. They didn't really interest me, to be honest. I really wanted to see, the Poltergeist one was just sad, as I said. I really wanted to see the Crow episode, which kind of gave me some new facts, being a fan of the movie. And the Twilight Zone movie, as I said, it was just really heartbreaking and just kind of shocking to see that happen. So and to see Richard Sawyer tell the story. But overall rating on this one, Cursed Films, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. As I mentioned, it's really cool if you're a horror fan or into any of these movies. It's nice to give a backstory. If you've looked up a lot of this stuff, you may know most of this already, but there's some new facts in there you will find. So if you're interested in picking this up, I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you can pick this one up. Yeah, that's kind of all I can tell you about this one. Of course, Films, recommend picking it up if you're a horror fan. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and consider hitting the bell to get notified as soon as I post new videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you on the next one.